Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English podcast dedicated to helping you learn and improve your English in ways that are both practical and fun. My name is Adam, and I am so thrilled to be here with you today. As always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Julia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to share tips and insights that can make your English learning journey more enjoyable and effective. Whether you're just starting out or you've been learning English for a while, we're here to guide and support you every step of the way.
That's right, Julia. Today's topic is something that many English learners overlook, but is absolutely essential for effective communication. We're going to dive deep into how to use body language while speaking English. This is a fascinating and practical subject that can really make a difference in how you connect with others when you're speaking the language.
Yes, Adam. And it's such an important topic because communication is not only about the words we say. In fact, studies show that over half of our communication is nonverbal. That means things like your posture, facial expressions, gestures, and even your tone of voice can speak louder than your actual words. This is especially important when you're speaking a second language like English because your body language can help fill in any gaps and make your message clearer and more engaging.
Exactly, Julia. For many learners, the focus is usually on grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, which are, of course, very important. However, they often forget to pay attention to how they physically present themselves while speaking. For instance, if you're saying something confidently in English but your body language suggests nervousness or hesitation, people might focus more on how you look than what you're actually saying.
That's such a great point, Adam. On the other hand, when your body language is open and confident, it not only helps others understand and connect with you better, but it also boosts your own confidence while speaking. For example, something as simple as maintaining eye contact or using a natural smile can make you appear more approachable and comfortable, even if your English isn't perfect yet.
Absolutely. Let's think about a real-life situation to illustrate this. Imagine you're introducing yourself to a group of new people, maybe at work or in a social setting. If you're standing tall, smiling warmly, and making eye contact while saying, "Hi, my name is Adam. I'm so happy to meet you," your body language shows that you're confident and friendly. But if you're looking at the floor, fidgeting with your hands, or speaking in a very quiet voice, people might get the impression that you're nervous or unsure of yourself, even if your words are perfect.
Exactly, Adam. That's why understanding and practicing good body language is such an essential skill for English learners. It's not just about speaking the language, it's about expressing yourself fully and making a strong impression. And the great thing is, anyone can learn to improve their body language with a little practice and awareness.
That's so true. So, in today's episode, we're going to cover everything you need to know about using body language effectively while speaking English. We'll talk about why it matters, explore some key elements of positive body language, share practical tips and exercises, and even discuss how cultural differences can influence nonverbal communication.
We'll also do a fun role-playing activity later in the podcast to show you exactly how good body language can change the way people perceive your words. So, stick with us, because this is going to be a really valuable and interesting episode.
Yes, you definitely don't want to miss it. Let's dive right in and start exploring how body language can enhance your English-speaking skills and make you a more confident and effective communicator. Let's start by exploring why body language plays such a crucial role in communication, especially when speaking a second language like English. Now, many of you might be wondering, why should I focus on body language when I'm trying to improve my English-speaking skills? Well, the answer is simple, but incredibly important. Body language is a universal form of communication that works alongside your spoken words to help convey your message more effectively. When you use gestures, maintain eye contact, or smile while speaking, it reinforces the meaning of your words and makes it easier for others to understand you. In some cases, body language can even fill in gaps where your vocabulary might fall short, acting as a bridge between what you're trying to say and what the listener needs to hear. When we communicate, especially in face-to-face interactions, People don't just listen to the words we say. They're also paying attention to how we say them, how we move, and how we look while we're speaking. For instance, if you're explaining something confidently, but your body is stiff, your arms are crossed, and you're avoiding eye contact, the listener might feel that you're uncertain or disconnected from your message. On the other hand, when your body language aligns with the words you're speaking, like standing tall, using open hand gestures, and maintaining steady eye contact, it creates a sense of trust and clarity that makes your communication much more effective.
That's absolutely right, Adam. In fact, let's dive deeper into the difference between positive and negative body language and how they can influence the way people perceive you when you're speaking English. Positive body language refers to the non-verbal cues and movements that make you seem confident, approachable, and engaged in the conversation. For example, something as simple as smiling while you speak can make a big difference. A warm and genuine smile not only makes you look friendly, but also puts the listener at ease and makes them more receptive to what you're saying. Another great example of positive body language is maintaining eye contact. Now, this doesn't mean you have to stare at the person constantly, but looking into their eyes for a few seconds at a time while you're speaking shows that you're confident, interested, and paying attention. It creates a connection that words alone can't always achieve. Additionally, open gestures, like using your hands naturally to emphasize a point, can help you appear more expressive and make your message more memorable.
Exactly, Julia. And now let's talk about what happens when body language isn't aligned with your words, what we'd call negative body language. This can unintentionally send the wrong message, even if your spoken English is perfect. For instance, crossing your arms while talking might make you seem defensive, uninterested, or even closed off, even though you might not feel that way at all. Similarly, looking away from the person you're speaking to, whether it's avoiding their eyes or looking down at the ground, can make you appear shy, nervous, or unprepared, even if you're speaking confidently. Another example of negative body language is fidgeting or making excessive movements. Imagine you're giving a presentation or introducing yourself, but you're constantly tapping your foot, playing with your hands, or shifting from side to side. Even if your words are well structured and clear, this kind of body language can distract the listener and make it hard for them to focus on what you're actually saying.
That's so true, Adam. And I think it's important to remember that body language is often subconscious, meaning we're not always aware of the signals we're sending. That's why it's so important to practice and become more mindful of how we're using our body while speaking. For English learners, this can be particularly helpful because positive body language can make you feel more confident, even if you're worried about making mistakes with your words. When you stand tall, smile, and use open gestures, it not only makes you look more confident, but also tricks your brain into feeling more confident as well.
Absolutely, Julia. To sum up this point, body language is like the secret ingredient that enhances your overall communication. It works hand in hand with your spoken words to make your message clearer, more engaging, and more memorable. By focusing on positive body language, you can build better connections, make a stronger impression, and feel more comfortable speaking English in any situation, whether it's a casual conversation with friends or a formal presentation at work.
That's such a great way to put it, Adam. And as we move forward in this episode, we'll explore some practical tips and exercises to help our listeners practice and improve their body language. But before we get to that, I'd encourage everyone listening to take a moment to think about their own body language. Ask yourself, do I smile when I talk? Do I maintain eye contact? Do I use my hands naturally? Or do I keep them stiff by my sides? Becoming aware of these small details is the first step toward mastering the art of using body language effectively while speaking English.
Great advice, Julia. Remember, improving your body language doesn't happen overnight, but with practice, patience, and awareness, it can become a powerful tool that complements your English speaking skills and helps you communicate more confidently. Let's move on to discuss the specific elements of body language and how you can start incorporating them into your daily conversations. Now that we've discussed why body language is so important in communication, let's take a closer look at the key elements of body language and how they can help you become a more confident and effective English speaker. Body language is made up of many different components, and today we're going to focus on three of the most important ones: eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures. Each of these elements plays a unique role in how we communicate and can significantly enhance the way people perceive you when you're speaking English. Let's start with eye contact, which is one of the simplest yet most powerful forms of nonverbal communication. When you maintain good eye contact during a conversation, it shows that you're confident, attentive, and genuinely interested in the person you're speaking to. Eye contact helps establish a connection between you and the listener, making your words more impactful and memorable. For example, if you're introducing yourself in English, looking directly at the person you're speaking to for a few seconds at a time shows that you're comfortable and focused on the conversation. On the other hand, avoiding eye contact can make you appear nervous or distracted, even if your words are perfectly spoken. The key to effective eye contact is balance. You don't need to stare at someone continuously because that might feel uncomfortable for both you and the other person. Instead, aim for natural, intermittent eye contact. Look into the person's eyes when you're making an important point or asking a question, and then occasionally glance away to avoid seeming too intense.
Exactly, Adam. And for beginners, practicing eye contact can feel a bit awkward at first, especially if it's not common in your culture. One simple tip is to focus on the area between the person's eyes if looking directly into their eyes feels intimidating. It still gives the impression of eye contact without making you feel uncomfortable. You can also practice in front of a mirror or with a friend to get used to maintaining eye contact while speaking. Now, let's move on to facial expressions, which are another essential element of body language. Our faces are incredibly expressive and can communicate emotions and intentions much more quickly than words alone. For instance, a genuine smile can instantly make you appear approachable, friendly, and confident, even if you're still learning English. On the other hand, a blank or tense expression might make you seem uninterested or unsure of yourself. Facial expressions are particularly important when you're trying to convey emotion in your speech. Imagine you're telling a story in English about something funny that happened to you. If your face lights up with a smile or you laugh along with the story, it draws the listener in and makes the experience more engaging. But if your expression doesn't match the tone of your story, it can create a disconnect and make your words feel less authentic.
That's a great point, Julia. And just like with eye contact, using facial expressions effectively is all about being natural and authentic. For example, when you're happy or excited about something, let that emotion show on your face. If you're discussing a serious topic, your expression should reflect that as well. This alignment between your words and your facial expressions helps build trust and makes your communication feel more genuine. The third key element we want to talk about is gestures, which are the movements you make with your hands, arms, or even your head to emphasize what you're saying. Gestures are a fantastic way to add energy and clarity to your speech. They can help highlight important points, explain complex ideas, and make your communication more dynamic and engaging. For example, if you're giving directions in English, using your hands to point or mimic the movements can make it much easier for the listener to understand. Similarly, if you're describing the size of something, using your hands to show big or small can add a visual element to your words and make your message clearer.
That's so true, Adam. But it's also important to remember that gestures should feel natural and not forced. Some learners worry about what to do with their hands while speaking, which can lead to stiff or awkward movements. A simple tip is to keep your hands relaxed by your sides when you're not using them, and then bring them up naturally when you want to emphasize a point. You can also watch native English speakers in videos or movies to observe how they use gestures and try to mimic their movements during practice. Let me give a few real-life examples of how these elements work together. Imagine you're at a job interview and you're asked to introduce yourself. If you maintain steady eye contact with the interviewer, smile warmly as you speak, and use open hand gestures to emphasize your key points, you'll come across as confident and prepared. But if you avoid eye contact, keep a blank expression, and have your hands stuffed in your pockets, it might send the wrong message, even if your English is flawless. Another example is during a group discussion. If you're sharing your opinion and use gestures to highlight your main ideas, nod your head slightly to show agreement, and smile to acknowledge other people's contributions, it creates a positive and collaborative atmosphere. These small nonverbal cues can make a big difference in how your message is received.
Absolutely, Julia. And it's worth mentioning that gestures and facial expressions can vary between cultures. So it's a good idea to observe and adapt to the norms of the people you're communicating with. For instance, in some cultures, maintaining strong eye contact is seen as a sign of confidence, while in others, it might feel too intense. Understanding these differences can help you use body language more effectively in different settings. To sum up, the key elements of body language, eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures, are powerful tools that can enhance your English-speaking skills and make your communication more impactful. By practicing these elements, you'll not only feel more confident, but also leave a positive impression on the people you interact with.
That's such a great summary, Adam. And for our listeners, don't worry if these skills don't come naturally at first. Like any aspect of learning English, mastering body language takes time, practice, and patience. Start small, focus on one element at a time, and gradually build your confidence. You'll be amazed at how much of a difference it makes in your overall communication.
Now that we've covered the key elements of body language, eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures, let's dive into some practical tips that you can start using right away to improve how you present yourself while speaking English. Remember, your body language doesn't just support what you're saying. It also influences how people perceive you and how confident you feel during a conversation. By paying attention to small but impactful details, you can make your communication more effective and leave a positive impression on anyone you're speaking with. One of the first and most important tips is to stand or sit up straight and avoid slouching. Good posture is the foundation of confident body language. When you stand tall with your shoulders back and your head held high, you immediately project confidence and self-assurance, even before you say a single word. For example, imagine you're giving a presentation in English. If you're standing upright, with your feet firmly planted and your body open, it shows the audience that you're prepared and ready to engage. On the other hand, if you're slouching or shifting your weight nervously, it can make you appear uncertain or distracted, no matter how well you speak. Another essential tip is to use open gestures to appear more approachable and engaged. Open gestures involve keeping your arms relaxed and your hands visible, rather than crossing your arms or hiding your hands in your pockets. For instance, when you're introducing yourself or explaining something in English, using hand movements to emphasize your points can make your message clearer and more dynamic. Open gestures also signal that you're comfortable and willing to connect with your audience, which is especially important in situations like interviews, meetings, or social gatherings.
That's absolutely right, Adam. And for beginners, it's important to remember that body language doesn't have to be overly dramatic or exaggerated to be effective. Small intentional changes can make a big difference. For example, if you're speaking to a group, try spreading your hands slightly outward when making a point, as if you're inviting the audience to understand and agree with you. This gesture is simple but powerful, as it conveys openness and enthusiasm. If you're worried about what to do with your hands when you're not using them to gesture, here's a practical tip. Let them rest naturally by your sides or place them lightly on a table if you're sitting. Avoid fidgeting with objects, crossing your arms tightly, or clenching your hands, as these habits can make you seem nervous or closed off. Instead, Focus on keeping your movements relaxed and intentional.
Exactly, Julia. And for those who are just starting out, developing good body language habits doesn't have to be complicated. One of the easiest ways to practice is to use a mirror. Stand in front of a mirror and practice speaking in English while paying attention to your posture, gestures, and facial expressions. Watch how your body moves as you talk and make small adjustments until you feel more natural and confident. For example, you can practice introducing yourself or answering common questions in English while observing your body language. This not only helps you become more aware of how you present yourself, but also allows you to make improvements in real time. Another effective exercise is to record yourself speaking. Use your phone or a camera to film yourself giving a short speech or practicing a conversation in English. Once you've finished, watch the video to analyze your body language. Look for areas where you can improve, such as standing taller, making more eye contact, or using clearer gestures. Recording yourself is also a great way to track your progress over time and build your confidence.
I love those tips, Adam. And here's another practical exercise that can help you improve your body language while also boosting your English speaking skills. Practice with a friend or partner. If you have someone who can give you honest feedback, ask them to observe your body language during a conversation or practice session. They can point out things you might not notice, like whether you're fidgeting too much, avoiding eye contact, or looking too serious. If you don't have someone to practice with, don't worry. There are still plenty of ways to work on your body language. For example, you can watch videos of confident speakers or presenters and try to mimic their body language. Pay attention to how they stand, how they use their hands, and how their facial expressions match their words. Then, practice incorporating those techniques into your own speaking style.
That's a fantastic idea, Julia. Observing and learning from others is a powerful way to improve. And while it's important to be aware of your body language, it's equally important to stay authentic. Your gestures, expressions, and movements should feel natural to you. If something feels forced or unnatural, it can distract from your message rather than enhancing it. One more tip I'd like to share is to focus on your breathing. Good posture and relaxed body language often start with steady, controlled breathing. When you take deep breaths and maintain a calm rhythm, it not only helps you feel more composed, but also prevents you from fidgeting or appearing tense. Before you start speaking, take a moment to breathe deeply, stand tall, and center yourself. This simple habit can make a big difference in how you come across to others.
That's so true, Adam. And for our listeners, remember that improving your body language is a journey, not something you need to perfect overnight. Start with 1 or 2 tips that resonate with you and practice them consistently. Over time, these small changes will become second nature, and you'll find yourself feeling more confident and engaging whenever you speak English. To sum up, using body language effectively is about being aware of your posture, gestures, and expressions, and making small intentional adjustments to enhance your communication. Whether it's standing tall, using open gestures, or practicing in front of a mirror, every step you take brings you closer to becoming a confident and impactful English speaker.
Absolutely, Julia. And as we always say, the most important thing is to keep practicing and stay positive. Body language is a skill, just like learning English, and with time and effort, you'll see amazing results. As we continue our discussion, let's focus on a very important aspect of body language: how it changes depending on the situation you're in. Body language isn't a one-size-fits-all tool. It can and should be adapted to suit the context of the conversation. Whether you're speaking English in a formal setting, like a job interview, or in an informal situation, like chatting with friends, understanding how to adjust your body language can make a huge difference in how your message is received. Let's start with formal settings. Imagine you're attending a job interview where the atmosphere is professional, and first impressions matter a lot. In this kind of environment, your body language should convey confidence, respect, and attentiveness. Sitting up straight, maintaining steady eye contact, and offering a firm handshake are all examples of positive body language that work well in formal settings. For instance, when answering a question, you could slightly lean forward to show engagement and interest. At the same time, avoid fidgeting, crossing your arms, or looking away, as these behaviors might make you appear nervous or uninterested. Now, compare that with an informal setting, like having a casual conversation with a group of friends. Here, your body language can be more relaxed and open. Instead of sitting upright all the time, you might lean back slightly, use more expressive hand gestures, or laugh freely to match the tone of the conversation. Informal settings allow for more flexibility, but it's still important to stay mindful of your nonverbal cues. For example, turning your body toward the person speaking and nodding occasionally shows that you're paying attention, even in a relaxed environment.
That's a great point, Adam, and it's fascinating how our body language naturally adjusts to different situations without us even realizing it sometimes. But being intentional about these adjustments can help us communicate more effectively, especially when we're speaking in a language that isn't our first. One important factor to consider when adapting your body language is cultural differences. Body language that's considered polite or friendly in one culture might not be interpreted the same way in another. For example, in some cultures, maintaining direct eye contact during a conversation is seen as a sign of confidence and respect. However, in other cultures, too much eye contact might come across as aggressive or impolite. So, if you're speaking English with someone from a different cultural background, it's always a good idea to be aware of these nuances. Let me give you a practical example. In many Western cultures, smiling is often used to show friendliness and approachability, even when meeting someone for the first time. But in some cultures, people might smile less in formal situations because they believe it's more professional to appear serious. Similarly, gestures like giving a thumbs up or nodding can mean different things depending on the cultural context. While a thumbs up might indicate approval in one place, it could have a completely different meaning somewhere else.
That's so true, Julia. These cultural variations remind us how powerful and complex body language can be. When learning English, it's not just about mastering the words, it's also about understanding the nonverbal cues that go along with them. And while it might seem overwhelming at first, paying attention to the context and observing how others use body language can help you navigate these differences more easily. One tip for adjusting your body language in different situations is to start by observing the people around you. If you're in a formal setting, watch how others are sitting, gesturing, or using eye contact, and try to match their tone. This doesn't mean you have to imitate them exactly, but aligning your body language with the general atmosphere of the room can help you fit in and communicate more effectively. In informal settings, you might notice that people are more expressive with their gestures or relaxed in their posture. Joining in with similar non-verbal cues can make your interactions feel more natural and enjoyable. For instance, if you're sharing a joke with friends, letting your facial expressions and gestures reflect your emotions can enhance the humor and make the moment more engaging.
That's a fantastic strategy, Adam. And I think another helpful tip is to practice switching between formal and informal body language so that it becomes more natural over time. You could start by role-playing different scenarios at home. For example, practice sitting and speaking as if you're in a job interview, focusing on maintaining professional posture and using subtle gestures. Then switch to a more casual setting, like pretending you're at a coffee shop with friends, and allow yourself to relax your movements and expressions. It's also worth noting that while body language is an important part of communication, it should never feel forced. Whether you're in a formal or informal situation, the goal is to use body language that feels authentic to you. Forced or exaggerated gestures can sometimes come across as awkward or insincere, so it's better to focus on small, meaningful adjustments that enhance your overall communication.